All right, everybody, welcome. If you're a new subscriber, I want to welcome you. If you're a returning subscriber, I want to welcome you back. So what we're going to be doing in today's video is we're going to be talking about how to start an ATM business in 2022 step by step. Now, I always make a video like this every single year, and the reason why I'd like to do that is because I want to make sure that even if it's something small, that I'm updating it every single year, because every single year the government is making new regulations, things change in the industry. So every single year I make a video explaining how to start the business for that particular year, and just incorporating all the different things that I've learned and my students have come across during their travels throughout the year, right? So just jumping straight into it, guys. Do you want us to build you an ATM business completely automated? Then I want you to stick around to the very end of this video, and we're going to explain how that can happen for you, right? Just to give you a little bit of a tidbit of how things would work. We provide your ATMs for you, we provide your clients for you, and then we put our cash in your ATM for you so that you have a completely automated ATM business. But we can talk about that just a little bit later. So jumping straight into the training, guys, my promise to you, let's talk about my promise to you in this training. So during this training, I'm going to make you a believer, and I'm going to prove that anybody can create a successful ATM franchise, even if you don't have any experience. So if you have zero business skills whatsoever, you've never started a business before, you're still going to do very well in this industry as long as you follow the steps that I'm going to outline for you today. So who's this going to be for, right? So this is going to be for those people who are serious about creating a long-term business. So this is for those people that want to get out there and do it. This is going to be for those people who are interested in building a business, and they understand that a true business, not one of these fly-by-night, get rich quick scams. A true business, much like real estate, is going to take time to build, but the bigger you build it, the more money you're going to make. And once you're making that money, it's not going to go away, right? Because you're going to create serious passive income. Okay, so this is not going to be for the tire kickers, for the people who don't have any money. If you don't have any money, you can't start this business, right? You're going to need a couple $1,000s. I'm going to tell you that up front. So this is not going to be for those people who want to take $300, $400, $500. Even if all you have is $1,000, you can't start this business. Okay, I'm not going to be that guy that's going to say, hey, you can start this business with $1,000. You need a lot more than $1,000 to start this business, right? So I want to put that out there. So for those people who are just tired of being average, right? You're tired of the average life. You're tired of the average income, right? The average person in America right now is probably making around 60K, right? Between 60 and 80K. And let's be honest, that's really not enough to live life, enjoy life, and do all the things that you want to do while maintaining a family, right? If you're by yourself, if you're single, then yeah, that can work. But when you build a family, you have kids, you have a wife, you have things going on, you want to have as much income coming in as possible. So by having an ATM business, you can have passive income, so that way that you're not giving away that time that you could have spent with your family or even building that family, right? You're not giving that time away, but you are increasing your revenue, right? You're increasing your deposits every single month. Okay. All right. So jumping into really quickly who I am. My name is Thomas Berkeley. I'm the CEO of the ATM from University. That's pretty much a company that I created way back in 2018. Essentially what we do is we take new and old entrepreneurs and investors, and we teach them how to build ATM businesses. We also build completely automated ATM businesses as well. So if you're interested in that, whether it be us building an ATM business for you or teaching you how to do it, you're in good hands. Okay, so we've trained over 500 students since 2018. Right here on YouTube, we have over 11,000 subscribers. So if you're not seeing this video on YouTube and you're watching it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're seeing this, just to give you a little bit of information about me, how long I've been around. I have dozens of videos here on my YouTube channel. We've been teaching since 2018. We've been rocking and rolling. Still going strong. Okay, and I also run a full-time ATM business. I teach people part-time. So, you know, I run a full-time ATM business. I have employees that handle a lot of the day-to-days. And just kind of in my spare time, I like to teach people. I like to show people some of the things that I know, because everyone wants to talk about Amazon. Everybody wants to talk about Shopify. Everybody wants to talk about real estate. Okay, but these things cost lots and lots of money, right? Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of payments being made to get these businesses started, right? If you're going into Amazon, you're going to have to send money to China and do all of this stuff. No, with this industry, it's very, very simple, very straightforward. And then after this video, you're going to have a very good understanding of how everything works, and you're going to really kick yourself for not getting into this industry before. So just a little bit of my backstory really quickly. I did a lot of time in the Air Force. I did about 10 years in the Air Force. I got in when I was 18, so it was around 2008, 2009. I pretty much spent my time there. I didn't have any money. I come from a pretty poor city. And during my time in the Air Force, I actually met my first mentor. And my first mentor, he essentially was the mayor of his township, and he lived an hour west of where I'm from. And because he lived in such a small community, like I said, he was kind of like the mayor of his township. And because of that, he dealt a lot with the credit unions, the small businesses, you know, things of that nature. And that's how he kind of came across the idea of having an ATM, you know, and you making money from that ATM instead of making someone else money. And so he had been doing it for a while. He had been doing it for a few years before he met me. And when we finally met up during my training in the military, he explained to me how everything works. And then from there, he just took me under his wing. And whenever we had time to come back and forth to Ohio, he would show me his ATMs, how they work, how to run it, where to go, who to talk to, which ATMs to get, all that good stuff. Okay. And so just from there, I've built my portfolio up to about 50 ATMs. We're maintaining about 6 figures a year, and we also sell about 10 locations a year as well. Some of the things that you can do with this business are astounding. I mean, you can run the business and grow it, and then you can also sell it. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. All right, so jumping into an ATM business and what exactly it is, right? It's basically, we're walking into a local business, we're putting an ATM in that local business, and then we're making money from it. Okay, so we're making money from the surcharge, right? The surcharge, convenience fee, whatever it is that you want to call it, that's what we're making money from. Okay, so that's essentially what an ATM business is. There's not really too much to it. Once you find a location, then you're going to put that ATM in that location, and then you're going to get deposits every 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so it's not much to this business. Now, the great thing about it is, and what makes it so passive and why so many people are really missing out by not being a part of it, is because you don't have to actually be there to be making the money. You only have to fill up the ATM once a month. Okay, once a month. So you're going to probably spend about 30 minutes a month going to your bank, taking out the money, putting the money into the ATM, and then that's it. You don't do anything else. You're going to have an app on your phone that in real time is going to tell you how much money you've made, how many people have used your ATM that day, how much money is left in the ATM, etc., etc. So you can go about your day and know exactly what's going on with your ATM. Okay, and that is something that a lot of businesses can't say. So it's really beneficial to add something like this to your portfolio, whether you are an investor or someone who is a beginning entrepreneur. This is a really this is pretty much, I would say, is the lowest hanging fruit of 2021 and of 2022. It definitely was the lowest hanging fruit of 2020 because, I mean, during the pandemic, if you had an ATM in a business that is considered essential, you made a killing, right? Because we work with essential and non-essential businesses. So this industry is actually bulletproof. It's actually recession proof, because as long as we have essential businesses open and you have an ATM in at least one of them, you're going to make a ton of money, because people during the pandemic were freaking out, about toilet paper, about canned goods, whatever it is that they were freaking out about, all kinds of stuff. They were pulling out money, and a lot of it. So if you had an ATM, you would made a killing. Okay, yeah, me and myself, we had some businesses shut down because they were non-essential businesses. But our essential businesses more than made up for the businesses that got shut down. And then when the non-essential businesses opened back up, such as barbershops and salons, for example, we made our money back that we lost because so many people that relied on those companies pretty much lined up, right? They lined up and it was throughout the door, right? It was all the way down the street, essentially. People wanting to get in, okay? So that's essentially what an ATM business is and how it works. And that's just kind of some of the more broad details about it, right? So let's talk about how exactly you're going to make your money. How exactly does this work? Because what we like to call the process of us making money, the process of us receiving profit, is called recycling cash. And the reason why it's called recycling cash is because you're going to take your money that you already have in the ATM and you're going to recycle it. Because what we're going to do is, if we take a look at this chart here, let's just say, for example, that we have an ATM in the business, and let's just say that the only money that we have, let's say that the only money we have is $20. Okay, so let's put $20 in our ATM. So we have $20 physically in our ATM, and let's just say a customer, or let's say the customer's name is Tom. Tom comes to the ATM and he withdraws $20. That's what he wants to take out. Okay, so he goes to the ATM inside the store, and he wants to take out $20. Now, what happens when he actually does this is he's going to be connected to his bank account via the bank network. And the bank network is owned by the credit card companies. So, Visa, MasterCard, Cirrus, all that stuff. Those guys own the bank network. Now, the bank network allows his bank account to connect with our ATM. So what happens is we have a processor that is in control of our ATM while it's connected to the bank network. So essentially, what's going to happen is the ATM is going to essentially send a signal to the customer's bank account, and it's going to say, hey, Tom wants to withdraw $20. Does he have $20 in his bank account? And then the bank account's going to send a ping back to the ATM like, yeah, he does. Tom has $20. Okay, and then the second question that's going to get sent out by the ATM to Tom's bank account is, hey, does Tom have $4? Because the surcharge fee is $4, or the convenience fee. So then Tom's bank account is going to send another ping back to the ATM and say, hey, yeah, he does have $4 as well. So he has a total of $24 available for the $20 that he wants to take out and the $4 convenience fee that he's going to have to pay. And we've all paid this fee before, and a lot of people did not know that you can make money from these convenience fees, these surcharge fees, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but here in our example, what we've just seen is that the ATM essentially asks Tom's bank account, hey, does he have $20? Does he have an additional $4 for the convenience fee? Because as long as he has $20 in his bank account, he can physically take the $20 that we have in our ATM. Okay, so as soon as everything is on the up and up, the ATM is going to say, okay, cool, access granted, and they're going to distribute the $20 physically to Tom. Now, at that same moment, $20 is going to get taken out of Tom's bank account, alongside an additional $4 for the convenience fee or the surcharge fee. Okay, now that fee is going to be a total of $24. If we look here at step 3, $24 is going to be debited from Tom's account. So Tom's bank account is going to have $24 less than it did previously. Now, $24 is going to be deposited into your bank account. $24 will be deposited into your bank account. Okay, so you got the $20 back that Tom took from you, and then you also made $4. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'll say it again. So Tom's bank account gave you $24. So Tom's bank account withdrew $24 and deposited it into your bank account. So now that $20, you made $4 off of that. So you made $4 in profit off of the $20 that was inside your bank account. I mean, inside your ATM. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to keep the profit, which was $4. If you go to step 5 here, as we see, we keep the profit, which was $4, and we take the other $20 and we put it back into the ATM. Okay, and then we're going to have someone else, let's just say Mike is going to come in and he's going to withdraw that same $20 that already got deposited back into our bank account. And then we're just going to follow this circle over and over and over, and that's how we recycle cash. Now obviously you're not going to put just $20 in here, right? Obviously you're not going to do that. I mean, unless you're crazy, you're not going to do that. So what our goal is to only have to replenish our ATM once a month. Okay, so we're going to talk about how much money you should have in your ATM in just a little bit, but you're going to want to put enough money in your ATM so that it can last you the entire month. So hopefully that makes sense, because you only want to visit that location once a month to refill the machine. And so a lot of people are going to ask me, hey Thomas, where do I get the cash from? Where do I get the cash from to put in the machine? Well, what I always say is use that same tenacity that you use to find your kids that PS5 on Christmas or that Xbox, or use that same energy that you use to go and get that $1,000, $2,000 iPhone that you're using, right? So the same energy that you guys use to buy all of this useless stuff, all the useless garbage that you bought during Christmas, all of that stuff adds up, and that's all money that you lost. That's money that's not making you any money because you spent it on garbage that you didn't need. So you want to use that energy to find the money to put into your ATM. Okay, because when we really sit down and we think about it, all the money that we spend on useless things, video games and TVs and PlayStations and all that stuff, this is money that we could be using to invest into our business. Okay, so the money that you put into the ATM, you're not really losing the money. The money is sitting in your ATM and it's making you money, and it's not going anywhere. It's either going to be in your ATM or in your bank account. So that money is not gone. If you had an emergency and you needed to go take out however much money from the ATM, you just walk into the store, go into the ATM, use your key, unlock it, get the money, and walk out. You can take money out of your ATM, so you're not really losing that money. Okay, whereas when you go out and you purchase a Black Friday deal for a brand new TV, you lost money because that TV doesn't do anything for you. Okay, so you know that is where you would get the money from. You're going to get the money from however you find ways to get money to buy anything else that you buy. Okay, so whether it be loans, borrow money from friends, credit cards, whatever you have to do. Okay, so I want to show you an example of what's like some of my numbers, basically, so that way you can kind of see what this looks like. So if you look to your right here on this picture, you see here that we had the number of uses was 243. Okay, so the number of uses 243. That means that 243 people use this ATM. 243 people. Okay, now on average you're going to see about 100 to 200 transactions per month. Okay, so that means number of uses. So how much money someone takes does not make you any more or any less money. So for example, if someone were to take out $20 and your surcharge is set to $3, then you're still just going to make $3 on that transaction, whether they take $20 or if they take $100, you're still only making $3. So because of that, you want to limit how much money a person can take from their ATM, from your ATM, obviously. And then you're also going to be using that number, this information, to figure out how much profit you're going to make. Now, obviously, you're going to figure this out anyway, because you're going to have an app on your phone. You're going to have a back office. What you see now is me inside my back office here, and inside my back office, I can kind of take a look at how many transactions I have for the month, as well as how much profit I made. So you can see here that we had 243 transactions. Okay, so we multiply that by our surcharge, which was $3. So we made $729 for that month. Okay, so this is just for that. This is just basically going to be for that month. We made 243 transactions. So $729 was our profit that we actually were able to pocket. And this is just one of our ATMs. Just one of our ATMs. Now, on average, ATMs are going to make anywhere from around $300 to $1,000 per month in profit. The very minimum, you might see some that will do like $250. But even if you have an ATM that's doing $250 per month, that's amazing, right? $250 to $500 is realistic for just about any location. And then when you go up and up and up, then you're going into the upper echelon of locations, and we'll talk about locations here in just a second. But there's the lower tier locations, and then it scales all the way up to higher tier. So the higher tier locations you have, they're going to be a little harder to get into, but they're going to make you the most money. But you can also build your business basically on smaller industries on the lower end and still make a lot of money. I mean, $250 to $300 passively. You don't have to do anything to maintain it for real, besides put the money back in the ATM. I'll take 100 of those, right? I mean, you're not making $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month from one ATM. That would be great, but you're not making that type of money, which is why I say this industry is not for those people who are looking to get rich quick. This is an investment that is going to yield you profit every single month for the rest of your life. And people pay top dollar for ATM routes. So if you even have one route that was, let's just say it was doing $300-400 a month, and the ATM is there, the location is good, you can sell that for double or triple what the yearly revenue would be for that. People and investors pay top dollar for already existing ATM businesses. So maybe you don't want to build a crazy empire. Maybe you just want to build an ATM business and then flip it, because people will pay you tons of money to do that. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to make money in this industry. All right, so let's talk about what our process is that we're going to follow when we're building our ATM business. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our business. We're going to protect our business. We're going to get everything positioned correctly so that we're not in a situation where we're getting sued, getting any fines or anything like that. So you want to solidify your business, and basically that's pretty much meaning that you don't want to look like a person, when you're talking to a business owner, you don't want to seem like someone who's hustling ATMs, right? You don't want to seem like you're slanging ATMs from the back of a van in the dark alley or something, right? Because if you're talking to a business owner, they might turn around and say, hey, I'm definitely interested, but I want to kind of take a look at what you guys got. Do you have a website? Do you have business cards? And if you don't have any of that, then you just look like a used car salesman, right? Or traveling vacuum salesman. You don't really seem to have any legitimacy to what it is that you're telling them. So you want to make sure that you have that stuff. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is scout. And by scouting, that's talking to the business owners. So you're going to be finding locations that seem profitable, and you're going to walk in there and you're going to have a conversation with the business owner, explain to them that you have an ATM, and you're going to explain to them all the reasons why they should want an ATM. And we're going to talk about why they would want it in just a second here. But you're going to basically explain to them all the benefits of a business having an ATM. Now, the great thing is we're offering them a free ATM. And that's really important because they are basically being taken advantage of, right? So if you see an ATM in the business, in a local business, I should say, then there's a good chance that that particular business owner is being taken advantage of, and so you should take that opportunity to try to help them. And I'll explain that in just a second as well. All right, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sign the paperwork. You want to sign the contract with the business owner that pretty much solidifies your partnership. And then once you do that, then and only then do you order the ATM. We do not order the ATM. We do not buy the ATM until after we have a contract signed with the business owner. And this is probably a funny process for a lot of people, because typically you would say, hey, well, let's buy the material first and then sign the agreement. Now, I'll say this, it's really dealer's choice. You can buy the ATM if you want to and have it shipped to your house, and you can play around with it if you want to, but you're going to be responsible for getting that ATM to the business owner after the fact. Whereas if you just wait until after you have signed the contract and you're good to go, everything's ready, all you have to do is order the ATM, you can have your ATM distributor deliver your ATM straight to the business, right? Instead of you coming out of pocket or, you know, paying someone with the truck to deliver the ATM to the business for you because you purchased the ATM prior. So it really just kind of depends on your cash flow, how you feel, and the way that you want to do it. All right, so let's talk about what it is that we need. So I pretty much set this up in order. So we're going to go through the order, and then we're going to kind of talk about some of the associated costs. Okay, so we have our LLC EIN. And, you know, here's the thing. LLCs and EINs, you can get them for free. You can go to the IRS website if you want to and just do it for free, right? Get your EIN for free. But if you go to some of those websites, the different websites like LegalZoom, which I do not recommend because they're super expensive, but you can go to these types of websites and they'll do everything for you. Just make sure you don't purchase an EIN from these companies, because you can get your EIN for 100% free. You do not need anybody to help you do that. Now, the only thing and the caveat with an LLC for this industry is you want to make sure you do it correctly. You don't want to have an LLC that says that you're in real estate and you have all the codes and everything for a real estate business, and then when you are talking with the bank, they're gonna flag you because they're gonna say, well, your LLC says that you're in real estate, but you're trying to start an ATM business. Which one is it? And in just a second here, I'm going to explain why that's a problem. Okay, because in most cases, an LLC, EIN, whatever you do, who cares? No one pays attention. But in this particular industry, you have to be very cognizant of how you handle things and what it is that you're doing in your setup, because that can screw you later on down the line. So when it comes to business bank accounts, the reason why I'm even putting it here is because it's something that independent ATM deployers, or IADs, which would be what you would call yourself as someone who is starting an ATM business by themselves, is causing us problems. And the reason why it's causing us problems stems from something called Operation Chokepoint. Now, Operation Chokepoint was something that happened, I want to say in the early 2000s, like 2012 or something like that. And basically, it was just a sting operation with the feds trying to take down gangs, drug dealers, etc. Because what they would do is they would go into convenience stores and places like that, put an ATM in there, and then they would, basically money launder, right? They would put all their drug money into the ATM, and then they would have people come and use the ATM, and it cleans the cash, because once the dirty money was taken out of the account, they got the deposit, they put the clean money back into the ATM. Now, where banks screwed up was that they were letting anybody and their grandmother come in and open up a bank account and not asking for what. And a lot of these guys weren't even opening business bank accounts. They were just opening personal accounts. No one really paid attention. So during Operation Chokepoint, after they cracked down on everybody, Operation Chokepoint was over. It was over around maybe 16, 17, something like that. Now, the residual effects of that is that because the banks got spanked on that, they don't want to get spanked again. Essentially, they got screamed at by who knows, God knows who, when it came to Operation Chokepoint, because they could have been doing a lot more to prevent all that money laundering from happening. So banks are very up in arms when it comes to the ATM business. So they're going to say, well, you're a high risk business, which is fine. But one of the main things that they're going to try to say about you is that you're a money services business or an MSB. Now, an MSB would be something similar in the realm of PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, right? All that stuff is considered a money services business. And essentially the definition of a money services business is going to be anything or any type of a business model where you're trading money for currency, you're selling currency, you're holding currency for someone, you're doing check cashing stuff. All of that stuff is considered money, a money services business. So Bitcoin, for example, would be a money services business because you purchase currency. So a business that is similar to PayPal, they have to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to be opened up, and we don't want to be in that situation, right? So we need to make sure that we can let the banks know that, hey, we're not a MSB. Now, they're not going to know any better though, because you're going to basically be talking to a bank teller. And a bank teller is basically going to be at the lower end of the bank spectrum. So they're only going to know what they're taught. They're just regular people like you and I. But because they are kind of in the position of power, if they say that, wait, you guys are a money services business and we can't work with you, you're going to typically believe them and walk out the door. But you need to know that you're not a money services business according to the government, according to the law, and they can legally work with us if they want to. You see, banks, regular traditional banks, cannot work with money services businesses because you have to be registered with the state, you have to have certain licenses, etc., etc., and regular banks are not going to deal with that. That's not their expertise. So you have to be able to prove to them that you're not a money services business. And how are you going to do that? And we're going to talk about it here in a second, but you want to have a couple of things with you to prove that you're not a money services business. Now, by having these documentations available and being able to prove what it is that you're doing will allow you to open up your business bank account. And just another caveat, I talk to people all the time that say, well, I have an LLC sitting around, I never did anything with it, and I have a business bank account sitting around, I never did anything with it, or I've been working with the bank for a long time now, and I have dozens of accounts with them. This shouldn't be a problem opening the account. Well, that would be 100% true if you were doing anything else, but because you're in this industry, I can guarantee you that if you just start sending money from a processor for your ATM business into your bank account, any bank accounts, and you didn't already get permission from your bank, I promise you it will get shut down. The reason why is because they need to be on the same page as you when it comes to your deposits. Because after a certain point, the IRS starts to audit and take a look at what's going on in your account, especially when you have so much money flowing through it on a day-to-day basis, because you're basically receiving deposits every 24 to 48 hours in a lot of cases. So with all of those deposits, and then as you start to accumulate more and more ATMs, that the amount that's flowing through your account is going to increase. So the banks don't want the IRS in their business any more than they already are. And on top of the fact that if you do anything crazy, then it's going to be on them. So if you didn't already get prior permission to use their bank account for your business, it's going to get shut down. And even with the LLC, I can guarantee you I've seen multiple people use the wrong type of LLC or what they based their LLC around, or what they said their LLC was going to be used for, such as real estate or whatever, and then it was different, then, you know, obviously an ATM business, they get shut down. So that's going to be important to pay attention to, because a lot of people quit at the bank account side. And basically in this industry, all the hard stuff comes at the beginning. In a lot of cases, all the hard stuff comes at the very end of the business. Like when you're already starting to scale and things like that, things get hard. But in this industry, everything is pretty hard from the get-go. So, you know, for example, case in point, the business bank account, hard from the get-go. I mean, it's not, I don't want to say hard. I want to kind of take that back. It's not hard if you know what you're doing and if you understand this industry and you can have the conversation. But without the knowledge that I'm going to provide you guys today, you're not going to know what to do. And even then, you still might have some trouble because every bank is going to be different. Okay. Now, in terms of which banks can you use any bank you can work with. You want to try to work with the smaller banks, the smaller credit unions. Those work the best because they're not that strict. But I have over 500 students, and a lot of them are using Wells Fargo's and all these different banks that people say that you can't get in. What really matters is the tactics that you use to get your bank account open. Okay. So once you do secure your business bank account, then that's when you're going to go into your website, business cards, flyers, etc. I mean, it really depends on where you're going to get that from. But, you know, for some decent looking websites, business cards, flyers, all that stuff, probably around $500, something like that. Could be plus, could be minus. But you're going to want to have that stuff, right? Now, you want to have your site location agreement. Now, the site location agreement is the contract that you have to have in place that is going to allow you to get your ATM situated in the business, because the site location agreement basically protects you and it protects the business owner. And basically what's inside of it is it explains what's the surcharge going to be for the ATM. It's going to explain how long is the ATM going to be there. It's going to explain who's in charge of what, and you need to have that in order for your processor to want to really do anything. Because let's just say, for example, you put an ATM in the business and there's no agreement, the business owner can at any time throw your ATM out in the trash and you wouldn't be able to do anything because you don't have any stake or claim on their business, right? You don't pay rent there or anything like that, so they can throw your stuff out if they want to. By having a site location agreement, a business owner can't scam you and throw your stuff out, steal your stuff, and they can't try to sue the processor for having the ATM there. Now, pretty much the reason why the processor would get in trouble for that is because they could say, well, you guys are doing something illegal and they're doing something with transactions and this and that, and they can just kind of get messy. So you want to have your site location agreement. It's necessary, it's mandatory. Okay. So you're going to have it, and these can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 plus. It really depends on how you go about getting it. Typically you would go hire a lawyer to create one for you, and the thing that you want to consider is that each negotiation or each contract that you sign will be different, because you will have different negotiations. So just be prepared for that. So the next thing that you're going to need is a location. Now, you can have, you know, yourself or your family members, you can go and do cold calling, cold emails, cold walk-ins, walk into businesses that you think might need an ATM, have a conversation with the business owner, explain to them the benefits of having an ATM, get them all set up, get them to sign the site location agreement, and then order your ATM. Now, everybody knows that when it comes to cold calling and cold emails and all that stuff, the numbers run everything. So essentially, the more people you talk to, the more chances you have to find a business owner that wants to work with you. But the problem is that a lot of people don't have time to do this. So there are a lot of sketchy location finding companies that will try to find a company or a location for you. Now they can charge anywhere from $500 to $1,000 plus for these locations, and a lot of times they're just going to give you whatever. They're going to find some garbage rinky-dink location, give it to you. You already paid them $1,000, so they feel like they have completed their task. And so these companies are predatory, so you don't want to work with them, but a lot of people end up working with them because they have such a hard time finding a location. Now, my personal students, my private students don't have any trouble finding a location because it's really simple using our process that we use, and we could talk about that a little bit later. But if you were doing this by yourself, you are going to, for the most part, either rely on paying one of these companies, or you're going to go and do some cold calling, cold walk-ins, whatever the case may be. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to need to do is find an ATM distributor and a processor. Now, you can buy an ATM from the same company that you process from, or you can buy an ATM from one place and then process from another place. So you want to think of an ATM and a processor as a PC and a Wi-Fi provider. If you buy an ATM and you don't have any processing for it, then you can't use the processor. You can't use the ATM, so you can't process any transactions. So, you can buy a PC if you want to, but if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't connect to it, then you can't do anything. So that's essentially what the relationship is between an ATM and a processor. So your ATM distributor will provide you with your ATM, and then the processor is going to make sure that your ATM is connected to what's called the bank network. We already talked about the bank network. But they're essentially going to maintain that, and they're going to be legally licensed and able to actually go ahead and prevent any money laundering or anything like that, which is why you want to be able to have, again, a copy of your site location agreement. Is going to be helpful when you're talking to a bank. You're going to want to have your processor agreement with you. That's going to be helpful, and then maybe some documentation from the government that states that your ATM business is not a money services business. And the reason why you want to have those two agreements is because you want to show them that you really are going to be working with the local business. Hey, this is what our contract is going to look like when we get everything signed. As you can see here, everything is on the up and up. And then you want to show them a copy of your processor agreement, because your processor is the one who is in charge of making sure that no money laundering happens under your ATM. They're going to essentially prevent you from doing any money laundering, okay? And they're legally certified to do that. So you want to work with a company that's legally certified to do that, because some of them aren't. The same thing with ATM distributors. Some of them are not, they're not credible. It's happened to me where I spent $3,000 on an ATM and then I never got the ATM. So you have to be very, very careful. Do your due diligence to work with, only companies that are reputable, right? We have a company, ATM distribution company and a processing company. So my students already know that they're getting the best of the best. They're getting brand new ATMs that are within regulation. They're not getting scammed, because there's a lot more of these companies popping up because this industry is getting a lot more popular, right? Because when it comes to ATMs, the one thing that you don't want to do is buy a used ATM. Now you can buy a refurbished ATM from a verified provider, but you don't want to go on eBay and all that and buy ATMs, because that's pointless. Everyone wants to try to cut corners, and that's fine, but just cut corners at your own risk. Because if you buy an ATM from, like, let's just say eBay, and is giving you a great price from it, they probably don't even have their master key, and their master key is not a physical key, it's a digital key. So without that digital key, you can't even get into the ATM. You can't do anything with it. So you just spent all that money on something that you can't use. The person who sold it to you probably didn't even know they needed the key, because they probably got it from a yard sale or however else they got it. So you have to be very, very careful with that. Just because you find a cheaper ATM doesn't mean that you need to use it. The reason for that is because of what's called Emv Compliance. So Emv Compliance essentially is rules and regulations that the government puts in place that protects people when they're using ATMs. So what that means is, when people are trying to steal others' identities, the government came up with the whole chip system, and then they come up with all these different systems to make it a lot more safe for people when they're using their ATMs. But if you don't have an ATM that has been updated and regulated for whatever the new rollouts are every single year or every couple of years, and something happens, then you're going to be the one responsible. You're going to be the one that's going to get in trouble. So you have to make sure that your business doesn't get shut down simply because you wanted to get the cheapest ATM instead of getting the most efficient, most up-to-date ATM. So just keep that in mind, because these ATMs aren't cheap. They cost $2,500 to $3,000. It really depends on which model you get. They have some really nice models that go all the way up to $4,000 or $5,000. Okay, and there's a couple of different models of ATMs. Realistically, you don't really need to pick any particular one. You don't need to get like a $4,000 ATM. You want to try to stay within the $2,500 range. You want to stay within the $2,000 range. That's where you want to stay. So the next thing we have is insurance. Now, insurance, you don't need it, but you can get it if you want it. So insurance is going to be around $500 or more per year. There's a lot of different companies that provide insurance for ATMs. Not all of them are reputable. I mean, this is one of those industries where there's a lot of gray area, because there wasn't a lot of people in this industry, and then a lot of people started talking about it, and then it started to become more popular. So a lot of these companies are scam companies that are coming out just trying to take people's money. And you can kind of tell a lot of times because they'll have like no pictures or anything on their website, or their spelling will be wrong. There's a lot of different red flags that you'll see on these websites, and you'll see when you start to look. But you don't need insurance because the ATMs don't break. If they do break, it's typically within about the first 90 days, and they have warranties on them. Assuming that you get them from a reputable dealer, they're going to have warranties on them, wall-to-wall warranties. But you can protect the money in the ATM, and you can also protect the ATM itself. So if someone steals the ATM, you can protect that. Or if someone takes the money, then you'll be good there. But I do want to say this: very, very, very rarely are there ever any break-ins specifically for an ATM, and very, very rarely are people pulling ATMs out of the store. Yes, I know that there's a bunch of videos out there of someone doing that, but there are billions of people in the world. If you only have seen 2 or 3 of those videos, then that's a pretty good bet that, this is not a big issue. You realistically have a better chance of getting hit by a car than for someone to break into a business and steal an ATM. So you don't worry about that. Unless you're putting your ATM in the hood. If you plan on putting your ATM in the hood, then you should be worried. But the next thing is putting money in your ATM. So $1,000 to $2,000 to start. Now, you're gonna have to put $1,000 to $2,000 in every single month. So whatever your number is, once you see how much you need, whatever that is, you're gonna go to your bank once a month, collect that $1K, put it back in the ATM, do the same thing the next month. Now you're gonna consistently do that until you can find someone who can cash vault for you. So it's called vaulting for anyone that's putting the money into the ATM. So our students, we connect them with our cash vaulters that we have, and they'll put their money in your ATM for you, which means that you don't ever have to go to that location at any point. You don't have to go check on it. You don't have to do anything, because this company is going to do it for you, right? So that's one of our companies that we have. So we connect all our students with that if they want to. You don't have to take that. It's not something that's necessary, but it's really amazing to have the I guess the thought process of being like, wow, I can actually go and travel. I can go do whatever I want to, and I'm going to consistently get these deposits. I can go to the other side of the world, and because I have everything automated and another company is filling my machine with cash every month, I don't have to do anything. So this is truly passive, right? Now, so let's talk about why a business owner would want an ATM. Okay, why would they? What would be the point of them having an ATM? So pretty much the thing about business owners and that people don't know is that they're basically hemorrhaging money every time someone is using a credit card. Because everyone's like, yeah, well, they're using the credit or they're using the debit card. Okay, fine. Credit card processing fees are high, and the business owner is already paying for the cost of goods. So credit card processing fees are anywhere from 1% to 3%. Sometimes they can be as high as 5%, depending on the type of business and the type of deal that they have with the credit card processor. So by having an ATM in their business, they're saving money. And the reason they're saving money is because they're not spending all that money on processing fees. If someone comes to the ATM and pays with cash, they're not losing any money on the processing fees, right? So that's one of the main reasons why these business owners want to have an ATM. You know, a lot of people say, well, I walk past XYZ place and all these places have ATMs. That's the reason why they have ATMs, right? Some of those might be brand new ATMs that just got placed because they know that they're saving money by having an ATM in their business. And also they listen to their customers. Their customers are asking them for an ATM, especially if they're a cash only business, which there's still a ton of cash only businesses. So just to kind of give you some more insight on why they would want an ATM, the average ATM withdrawal at a business is going to be $60. And the total percent that sales are going to increase by having an ATM is 20%. So the total percent of people that are going to spend money in comparison to non-ATM users is 23%. Average time the typical ATM user is going to visit that ATM per month, 7.4 times. So 7 times a month, when someone is whatever it is that they're doing, that they're pulling money out the ATM, they're going to do that 7 times per month, typically. And then the total average of money dispensed at, like, for example, a nightclub is going to be about 75%. So that means that whoever is pulling money out of an ATM at a nightclub is going to probably spend about 75% of that right there at the club, right there at the nightclub. Okay, so sourcing locations. So we're going to talk about the types of locations, right? So depending on what type of location you have, that's going to determine how much money you're going to make, right? Because we have a lower end of the spectrum and higher end of the spectrum. So the lower end of the spectrum is going to be like a barbershop or a salon, and the higher end of the spectrum is going to be like a weed dispensary. A weed dispensary is going to be the very top place that you could put an ATM. And the reason why you would want to put an ATM in the weed dispensary is because they are cash only. But at least the majority of them are cash only. Some of them might have some deals set up where they can use credit and debit, but for the most part, most of them are cash only. And the reason for that is because weed is not federally legal yet in all 50 states, only in some states. The banks have branches in all states. Most banks have branches in just about every state, and at least one of those branches is going to be in a state where, you know, weed is not legal. So because of that, they get spanked if they touch anything having to do with weed dispensaries, because it's not regulated and it's considered a super high risk business, because they have a concern about chargebacks and things like that, which is stupid. No one's charging back for weed. No one's doing that. But they don't want them to use credit or debit cards. So they'll be like, well, we might open a bank account for you, but you can only use cash. So because of that, they have to have an ATM. We build ATM businesses for our students. We have a student in Maine. We found him 2 or 3 dispensaries just in the past 2-3 months. And they're desperate for help. Okay. Now, some people say you have to give the business owner a split. You don't. Probably 60 to 70% of the business owners that come through using our process are not going to ask our students for any split whatsoever. Now, there are a lot of videos that say you have to give them a percentage, but that's really because you're doing cold calling or cold walk-ins. When you're doing cold calling and cold walk-ins, you have to have more of a gimmick in order to pull them in to have a conversation. But when they're reaching out to you, like they do for our students, they're begging for help, right? Their customers are telling them, hey, we want an ATM. or maybe they're a cash only business, right? So you just want to kind of think about that. Depending on how you approach it, that's going to determine how much effort you're going to have to put in and how much extra steps is going to be involved in getting everything set up. But as you can see here, we're working with gas stations, strip clubs, bars, convenience stores, barbershops, laundromats, hotels, weed dispensaries, tattoo shops, smoke shops, pretty much anywhere that makes sense to have an ATM. And like I said, depending on where on the spectrum your ATM is going to be placed, that's going to determine how much you're going to make. And like I said before, you're going to make realistically anywhere from $250 to $1,000 per month per machine. And then when you get into a dispensary, things get crazy and you can make a lot more. But for the majority of the businesses that are in all 50 states, you're looking at between $250 to $1,000, right? So let's talk about exactly how much you could potentially make, right? So I kind of put together a little spreadsheet here, not a spreadsheet, but just kind of like a little chart. So if you had one ATM and you did 6 transactions a day, and let's just say our surcharge here was $3. Okay, so if your surcharge was set to $3, and by the way, you get to choose what the surcharge will be. So if you had 6 people use your ATM per day at $3 for the surcharge, that's about $18 a day. Okay, so if you take $18 a day and you multiply that by 30 days, that's $540 a month. Now that's passive, so that means that you're only putting 30 minutes a month going to the bank, putting in money back into the ATM, and then going about your day. You do that once a month, 30 minutes a month. You're making $540 a month easy. Now, I don't know about you, but what I would do is say, okay, well, how can I get more of these and hit my income level? Because if you had 3 ATMs with doing those same amount of transactions, you'll have $54 a day that you'll be making. And you multiply that by 30 days, that's $1,600 a month. Okay? And it goes all the way down to 10 ATMs with 6 transactions a day. That's $180 a day, and then you multiply that by 30 days, that's $5,400 a month, which is a little over $64,000 a year. So you're not spending any more than about 30 minutes to an hour a month, and you're going to be making more than what the average person in America makes, right? So these add up. So in this industry, it's kind of like real estate. The more real estate you have, the more money you're going to make. So the more ATMs you have in this industry, the more money you're going to make. Okay, so I want to show you what we did last year, because last year in 2020, despite everything, well, not last year in 2020, but in 2020, my business did really well despite the pandemic. So if you take a look to the far right here, you see we did over $300,000 in my ATM business. Now, I have over 50 ATMs. If you can see here at the top left hand corner, it's going to be, we refer to it as terminals. This is just a screenshot from my back office. Your back office is what you're going to have access to once you get settled in, once you get everything going. It's basically the equivalent of what you're going to see on your app on your phone. You can basically see everything in real time. You can see what all your ATMs are doing, etc. So we have over 50 ATMs. And each one of those, you can kind of see what they did every single month. But our total at the end of the year was over $300,000, which is fine. You know, I'm not interested in being a millionaire. I don't want to be a millionaire. I'm really actually cool where I'm at. So at the time of this video, it's still December. So you guys probably, I won't be able to show you what we did for 2021, but I will make an update video where I will show what we did in 2021. But yeah, I just want to give you an idea of what's possible. Now, obviously, this is not easy, and obviously, this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. I've been in this industry for over a decade, so this is kind of what I do. Another thing that I do is I typically stay around 50 ATMs. I usually will find an additional 10 locations, place an additional 10 ATMs in those, and then I build what's called a portfolio, because your portfolio is basically all the ATMs and locations that you own. So what I typically do is I take those 10 locations and then I sell those off. So I build those up to a nice profit. I take the yearly profit that's going to make, and then I just multiply that by 2 or 3, and then I sell it to an investor that wants some passive income, that just wants to buy an already existing business. And so that's an additional source of income for myself and my team every single year. So we just do that every single year. We're really comfortable where we're at, so we try to stay around the 50 to 60 ATM area. So I want you guys to just kind of take a think of your current job and just kind of think of how that works. So all the things that we have to do in life, right? We have our rent, we have our mortgage, food, kids, utilities, healthcare, our wife, right? We have entertainment, all the different things that we do in our lives. They all rely on one thing, which is your job. So it's kind of crazy to think that with all these different things that rely on our cash, right? All these different things rely on us. They rely on our cash. They rely on us having money to take care of this. And it's all from one source. So if you lose your job, you're screwed. Okay. Now, if you take a look at running an ATM business, you get to diversify, and you can have an ATM handle a couple of the different things that you got going on. Like, for example, you can have one ATM that handles your rent and mortgage and your food, or you can have another ATM that just focuses on kids and utilities. You could have another ATM that just pays your medical bill or your car note or whatever. So as you can kind of see, if you have one ATM and your car note is $200, $300, and you had an ATM hanging out somewhere and it's making you over $500 a month, that's extra money for you now. That means that you're going to pay that bill down that much quicker, and you're not coming out of your pocket because your business is producing income that's going to pay off all your other debts. Whereas if you just have a job, if you lose that, you're screwed, right? So hopefully this was helpful. I don't even know how long this video was, but hopefully it was super insightful for you guys, because I wanted to definitely 100% make sure that you understand everything, because we went over everything, how it all works and how you can get started, and we broke down the numbers, and I was very transparent with you guys because I feel that you guys need to see the good and the bad. So we talked about some of the challenges that we have, and we talked about some of the good stuff. So what I want to do now is I want to talk about Atm Automation and how we can do most of the work for you and take away that difficulty level, right? So working with us is always just going to be a one-time investment. We don't do any profit sharing or anything like that. So obviously we know that the ATMs they're $2,500 to $3,000. By coming on board in this program, we're going to provide you with your first ATM. We're going to give you access to what's called the ATM Freedom University, and basically that's my coaching program that I've had since 2018, and it's the same coaching program that we've used to teach over 500 students across the globe, even in Hawaii. Okay, so we even have some students over in Hawaii as well. Basically this takes you step by step, explains to you exactly what you need to be doing. We provide you with all your legal paperwork, everything that you need to know, and we show you how to protect your business from being sued or getting shut down or being flagged or anything like that, and we walk you through that entire process. We even explain to you more in detail of what you should be saying to business owners, how to start that conversation, what should you be saying to them. The same thing with the banks. We explain to you how you're supposed to talk to the banks, what you should be saying. We provide all the paperwork that you need to show to the banks so that you can get your bank account open and get to rocking and rolling. And we handle all of that stuff for you guys. So we give you access to our private ATM distributors. We already talked about there's a lot of sketchy distributors out there. I've been scammed by them. So, we have our own company that's going to provide you with brand new ATMs, all the bells and whistles with wall-to-wall warranties on those. Same thing with our processors, right? And then most importantly, we're going to help you automate your ATM business. So we're actually going to put our money in your ATM for you when you work with us, so that you don't have to do it. Okay, so we're going to also create your website, your flyers, brochures, all your marketing stuff. We're going to create all that stuff for you, and you're guaranteed your bank account. right? Again, we're going to make sure you get your bank account. We have a couple of guarantees in all of our programs, and we guarantee a bank account and we guarantee you clients, because those are the top 2 hardest things that that people come across in terms of challenges. So we're going to provide you with your first two clients, and we're going to provide you with your first ATM. Okay, so you're basically getting a free client, because these clients typically, if we were to sell this stuff individually, would be $1,000 per client. So we're also going to provide you with your site location agreement and our negotiation services. So basically, we're going to help you negotiate your contracts, right? So we're going to negotiate your contracts on your behalf, and then realistically all you're going to do is just go and meet the client and sign. So you're not going to go out and cold call, you're not going to do any of that. We're going to find the clients for you. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If you're in Texas, we'll find you clients in Texas. If you're in Washington, we'll find you a client in Washington, and it's going to be within 45 minutes to an hour of where you live at. So it's going to be within driving distance from you. So every legal document that you can ever need, we're going to provide you with that. And one of our main promises is that if we find you a location and it doesn't yield you any profit, then we replace that location at no extra cost. And a lot of people won't say that, they won't do that. But we like to hold ourselves to a higher standard and make sure that if you come on board with us, that there's no risk for you. So we take away the risk. We guarantee that you're going to make some money. We guarantee that you're going to have some clients, and we guarantee that you're going to get your bank account set up, because we're going to help you with all of that. We also provide you with a lead generation system that we created, that my team uses to find all my clients. And essentially, we're taking away the cold calling aspect of this business. And now we have business owners reach out to us, begging us for our help. And because of that, we don't have to pay anybody any shares of anything. So you're keeping 100% of your profit. So if this is something that is interesting to you, and you understand how everything works, and you have a general idea, at least of how everything works, in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link. And it's going to be a short video that kind of goes more into how the ATM business works, and it's also going to explain how we can help our potential partners. So you're going to go in there, check that video out, and if everything makes sense, you'll have an option to book a call with me, and you can put in an application. We only work with people application only. We only work with about 4 to 5 people per month. So if you're interested in having us build your ATM business for you, then definitely go into the link that's in the description of this video, as well as in the comment section. And then I want you to click the link, watch the short videos, probably about 10 minutes, and then book a call with us. And for those of you who have stuck around to watch this, you are probably interested. So again, head to the link in the description, click the link, watch the short 10-minute video, book a call with us, and I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. And I really hope that you enjoyed this year's How to Start an ATM Business video.